For this webinar, we wanted to cover three main topics: cloning trucks, consolidating jobs, and reconciling jobs. Let's go ahead and get started here. I'm in a relatively fresh database, so I don't really have that much inventory. So to start off, I'm going to go ahead and receive some jobs. And I'll show you how to clone a truck to save some time. Sometimes you'll have situations where you have some pipe coming into your yard, but it's spread out over multiple trucks. Now, instead of having to create 3 individual trucks for this, we can just clone the trucks and save some time. So I'm going to enter in all the shipping information. Ship it from Bunning Yard to my Oklahoma 1 yard. And we're going to use the control number. Now, control numbers are used to tie things together, whether it be jobs or trucks or something like that. You can tie them all into one group while still maintaining for multiple jobs. So I'm going to use the control number 180, and then I'm going to add an item. I'm going to search for some 2 3/8 J55 and 4.6 tubing. So there we go. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to bring in 30 joints. I think the average for this one is 32 feet per joint. And I'm going to bring it into the A2 rack. All right, so once you have created the first truck and have added all the items, top part of the screen, click Save. And then you can right-click somewhere in this window and select Clone. This is going to duplicate everything you entered in from the trucking shipping information automatically for you, so you don't have to re-enter that again. All you have to do now is add the item. So we're going to add some more of that tubing. Essentially what I'm doing here is I'm receiving 90 joints spread over 3 trucks, so 3 trucks of 30 joints apiece. And I'm sending them all to the same rack. As you see, it has the same control number already populated. So we just do the same thing. We save the truck and clone. Then we can just add the last batch of 30. Okay, so now that you've cloned them, and again you get to that by right-clicking somewhere in the truck window and selecting Clone. Once you have all of them created, you can just complete them all in sequence. And that's going to bring all 3 of those trucks into my inventory, all 3 of those jobs. So let's go ahead and find that pipe. Since we assigned the control number to each of the 3 trucks, we don't have to keep track of the individual job numbers. We can actually just search by control number, and we'll see that all 3 of those jobs, all 3 of those 30 joint jobs, have inherited that control number from their truck. So we can see here that we have 30 joints and 3 jobs on rack A2. And down here at the bottom of the Pipe Explorer, you can see the total of what we're searching. In this case, it's essentially the total for rack A2. All right, so since this was one batch of pipe, or one load of pipe spread out over 3 trucks, since we brought it in on 3 trucks, it's on 3 separate jobs. Consolidation is essentially what that does is combine multiple jobs into one. What this does is allow you to keep your racks clean and organized and much more readable. This is important for auditing and other things. Since I don't necessarily need 3 jobs for this, all I care about is the 90 joints and 2,880 feet. I'm going to combine these jobs all onto the 5,012 job. So to consolidate, you can come over here to the Selected tab and check the boxes for the ones you want to essentially get rid of. Then all you have to do is select the job that you want to keep, right-click on it, and go down to consolidate the selected jobs to this job. Now, Consolidate is a very powerful tool, so it's once you do it, it's kind of a pain to undo. So you need to be very careful in what you're consolidating, and it's a good idea to keep a record of what you've consolidated in case you do need to reverse this. And I'll show you how to reverse this after we're done here. So once you've double-checked everything, go ahead and click Yes. And now you can see that those 2 jobs were archived, and their joints were transferred to this job that I told it to transfer to, 5,012. So now we still have the same total joint count, the same total feet on rack A2, but it's all in one job. This makes everything much more manageable, much more readable. Now I'm going to show you guys how to undo a consolidate. So let's say we want to see what happened to this job, what the history of this job is. We can look at the transaction register. That can be done in several ways. You can right-click on the job and select View Transaction Register, or a neat little shortcut is Control-T. If you press Control and T, it's going to open this little window, and you can enter in the job number that you want to look at. In this case, it's 5012. Click OK. And it opens the transaction register. That's just a cool shortcut. So this keeps track of everything, all the transactions, all the ins and outs for this job, essentially. Anything that you do is going to be logged here in the transaction register. Here we see that we received it on the 17th with a quantity of 30 joints. Then we did a transfer from tally 5013 of an additional 30 joints. And here in the running quantity tab, it keeps what it says, a running quantity. So we started with 30, we added another 30. And down here we have the transfer from tally 5014 for yet another 30, bringing the total to 90. So let's say we actually need to have job 5014 as a separate job and not have that consolidated. It's not the most straightforward process, but it can be done. Essentially what you need to do is reopen the job you consolidated and then transfer the original joints back. So another shortcut you can use is the Control F. This allows you to actually open a job, find a job really quick. So we're going to look for job 5014, which is the one we want to unconsolidate. And here we go. It opens it up for us. We can see that it is complete, but it has none of the inventory that it was originally shipped with, since we consolidated and transferred those joints to 5012, 5012. So to reopen the job, right-click on a blank area here in the job editor and click Reopen this job. Notice it set the status to receive and uncompleted it, but it did not automatically add the joints back to it. We have to do that ourselves. So the next step is to open the job that we transferred all the joints to, which is 5012. Again, I'm just going to hit Control F and open 5012. Now I'm going to look at these side by side so it's a little bit easier to understand. Here we have the 90 joints that we brought in and consolidated to this job. So what we want to do is click the transfer button and select the Advanced to job. This is the most useful one of the transfers, since you can actually move it from a different job as opposed to just relocating. So click on that, and it's going to bring up the pipe transfer wizard. This screen just summarizes what you're wanting to do. We're transferring from job 5012, and we're transferring this J55 pipe, or tubing, sorry. So go ahead and click Next. This is where you're going to tell it exactly how much you want to transfer. It is important that you note where you're transferring it from in the job, if you're transferring it from bulk or from tally joints. In this case, we don't have any tally joints on this job, so we're just transferring from bulk. So you need to make sure that you check the transfer from bulk, transfer to bulk totals, and delete joints from the original job. This delete the joints from the original job checkbox is especially important, since if you don't check it, it will simply clone the inventory to the job you're transferring it to. So you're growing pipe at that point. So for most scenarios, you're going to want to delete the joints from the job you're transferring from. And here, always enter a comment. We're transferring by joint. We're going to transfer, this job originally had 30 joints, so we're going to transfer those 30 back. And then we're just going to click Next. Now we need to enter in a target, a destination job. Since we're trying to unconsolidate 5014, that's what we're going to enter here. You can also create a new job or pick an existing job from open jobs that you have, but we know this one, in this case we know it's 5014, so we're going to use that. Again, this is the verification screen. It tells you exactly what you're going to do when you click Finish. Just double check that, make sure you're not making errors. So we're going to go ahead and click Finish. And now we can see that the 30 joints are on back on job tally 5014 and off of tally 5012. And if you want to completely undo a consolidate, you'd have to do this process for every one of the jobs you consolidated. So that's why we say it's better to double check the first time than have to go through this process. If we refresh our Pipe Explorer that we're searching for control number 180, we can see now that we have the 2 jobs instead of just the 1. So for the demonstration purposes of the reconcile, I'm actually going to consolidate this back into job 5012. Again, you just select the one you want to consolidate, select where you want to send it to, right-click, and hit Consolidate. Our third topic is reconciling. Reconciling is your tool for correcting mistakes or adjusting jobs in the system to reflect how they are in your racks or on a truck, what have you. A good example is, say we received this 90, we ordered 2,880 feet, and we estimated that to be 90 joints. But when we get the bill of lading, it's actually 89 joints. So we want to accurately reflect that bill of lading in our system. So to do so, you can right-click on a job and hit Reconcile. This opens up the Reconcile window. At the top, you'll see the job number and the part number that we're working with. In the middle, you have all the transactions. And down here you have some different options. We're only going to go over correcting transaction and setting the current balance. So in this case, we're going to correct the received transaction. We assumed it was going to be 90 joints. In reality, it's 89. So since we brought it up on 3 trucks, we'll see the original receive was 30 joints. So we're just going to take one off. We're going to select the transaction that we actually want to correct. Then down here in the joint count, we're going to type in 29 since we're taking off 1 joint. And in the new total feet, since we know the average was 32, it's always a good idea to comment why you're doing it. So we're reconciling to bill of lading. All right, once you double check everything, you can finish the reconcile. And the powerful thing about this tool is that when you correct a transaction, it not only fixes the transaction register, but everything that happened, all the transactions that happened after that one, will reflect the change. So if we ship from this job after we received it and then go back and reconcile the received transaction, all those other transactions are going to reflect that. So we're going to go ahead and finish reconcile. And now we can see the total comes to 89 joints, and our bulk joint has also, our bulk footage has also changed. Another use for the reconcile tool is for hard counts. Our system here in OCAUSE is showing 89 joints on rack A2 of this 2 3/8 tubing. You go out to your yard and actually do a hard count on rack A2, and you find that you actually have 88 joints. You can use Reconcile to quickly adjust that so you're not having to ship or receive any more joints or anything like that. So again, you can just right-click on the job and hit Reconcile. And this time, instead of saying correct the transactions, we're just going to set this job's current balance. Since we don't necessarily know where that other joint is or when it happened. Here, all you have to do is set the new total feet and the new joint count. It's pretty simple. So we said it was 88 instead of 89, and an average of 32 feet. That is going to be 2,816. Again, always comment. In this case, we're reconciling to a hard count. And you can hit Finish Reconcile. Now you have the new bulk joint count and bulk footage count. That's an easy way to reconcile your racks if you have mistakes or do hard counts. That's the basic concept behind Reconcile. As you saw, there's more options to those. You can do things like void transactions. With those 2 reconcile functions, you can do what you need to. Now just go to the transaction register. And what's good about the transaction register, you can actually dig a little bit deeper. If you click on the View Activity button in the transaction register, it's going to give you a much more detailed view of what happened. This logs essentially every click of the button and what the system does. So we can see all the adjustments that we did. This is our latest reconcile where we just adjusted the quantity. And we can see the original consolidates as well as that consolidate that we undid. See that it was a negative 30 and then we put it back to 5014. So if you ever want to know what happened to a job, what the history of that job is, and where these ships are received, went to or came from, you can use the transaction register and activity log. And as with everything in the system, you can move the columns by clicking and dragging to show really what you want. We can see down here in the activity log, the text will tell you exactly what happened on that reconcile. We had a transfer from tally 5014 to 5012.